January kicking off with a bang for you like it is for us. 2023 was a bit of a whirlwind, and it seems like 2024 has every intention of being a fast one as well. So what we thought was just do an online session, because a lot of people are getting back into the groove and back into work and getting their teams reassembled to get all sorts going. So we said, well, that's why we did this online rather than in person this month, and saying, how can we make things happen? So what I'm going to do is just spend just under an hour just teaching a little system the system that we use in our coaching business, that we help businesses grow, help businesses get great results inside there. So we'll spend an hour, and then anybody that wants to hang around and chat a little bit and bounce any ideas, we'll open the forum. But while we're going, if you have any comments or questions, you're welcome to unmute yourself at any stage and ask the question. Or there's obviously the chat box in the chat, in the Teams chat. So at any stage, you're welcome to put any comments or questions inside there, and I'll address those as we go through the session. But let's have some fun together and spend an hour looking at our businesses and see what we can do to improve them. So kicking us off, while we get going, obviously, when we do in-person events, there's a lot more chat than you get in the online sessions, but I find it's great to use the chat box and the forum there. So if you put your name and your company name in the box, let us know a bit about your business. And do you have an exit plan inside the business? And what is the plan? Do you want to sell it one day? Do you want to hand over the business? Do you want to franchise the business? We're all about building sustainable businesses, what I like to call legacy businesses that outlive you, the owner, that whenever you're ready to move on to other things, that you're able to sell the business, whether it's selling it to your staff, selling it on the open market, handing the business over to your kids, whatever the goal is. We want to make sure the business is a sustainable one. And I'm going to be talking you through a roadmap that we use in our business to help do that. So any comments that you have, please put it in the chat and ask any questions as we go along. So for those of you that haven't met us before, the company is called ActionCOACH Business Coaching. It's a business I'm really proud to be a part of. We've been independently nominated the world's #1 coaching firm for a number of years. And just the reach of the business, the number of businesses that we coach, and the depth of the system and the depth of the tools that we share with our clients. So the company's now got around 1,000 offices around the world. We're in over 80 countries. And interestingly enough, a business of that size still privately owned. So yes, we run on a franchise basis, and I am an ActionCOACH franchisee for 14 years now. The company is still privately owned and run by a guy called Brad Sugars, who founded the company in Australia 30 years ago, and is still very active in helping grow this business and helping us help as many business owners as possible. This is our global vision, world abundance through business re-education. It's actually a vision statement drafted by our CEO 30 years ago. Brad found back when he started the business in Australia, he got very good at helping businesses get their profits up, helping businesses get systems in place, helping businesses scale to a large degree, and kind of found that there was a recipe that you can use. And the idea was, well, why can't we help businesses around the world? Why can't we help achieve abundance around the world? How do we achieve abundance? Is by growing businesses. How do we grow businesses? It's around business education or business re-education. So I want to be clear around that. The ActionCOACH system is very much a business education system. We are helping our clients learn better ways of doing business through books, through workshops, through videos, audio that we share, and obviously in coaching sessions, we're always teaching and helping with new skills. So, and that's where we see it. So we're going to keep at this until we see world abundance. We've got a way to go yet, but it's something that really resonated with me when I discovered this business, was something I'd really like to be a part of. Paula, I see your hand is raised. Did you have a question that you'd like to ask or any comments you want to add in? Is everything okay there?
I just wanted to let you know that there's an echo on your voice. I don't know if now there's an echo on my voice. Does anyone else hear that, or is it just me?
Is anybody else hearing an echo?
Not me, not me.
No, you sound okay to me. Maybe an option, Paula, you might need to use your headphones or your headsets if you've got there. It might make it better.
I found also on 1 or 2 phones have done an upgrade lately where people's phone microphone is being used at the same time as the computer microphone. So you might, or speakers, so you might find there's duplicate input or output there. Sorry, Paula.
Don't worry, it's just me now.
Okay, good luck there. Right, yeah, so that's the vision, is we want to help as many businesses as possible, but first and foremost, it's around education, and we're teaching people. We're never going to teach you the skill of how to do your job right. Yeah, most of our clients are already very good plumbers, very good engineers, very good accountants, very good trainers, whatever, because we coach in so many different industries. But so where we come along is the skill of how to run a business, and that's the around marketing and sales, whatever it might be. So that's a bit of the background around the business. This last year gone by, we just turned 30, so 30-year-old business, and really proud to be a part of it. For those of you that I haven't met, so my name is Trevor Clark. I'm what they call a senior franchise partner and action coach. So I discovered the business 2009. I was running a design and communications consultancy in the Middle East. Loving what I did, but always been looking for the right business opportunity in South Africa. I'd always been a big believer in franchising, and I've been looking at all sorts of franchises, from food franchises to engineering franchises. And in 2009, discovered ActionCOACH. They'd recently launched in South Africa, and we're looking for coaches to get on board and help launch the business across Africa. And I must say, it's a decision I do not regret. I sold my shares in the business overseas, came back, set up the business here. We have our global training center in America. So I flew to the States to do the certification and qualify as a business coach. And yeah, we launched right at the end of 2009. And we've been having a lot of fun ever since, helping businesses across South Africa and internationally grow their businesses. So I'm doing what I like to do. And my typical clients, just so you're aware, our clients range from startup businesses right through to executive coaching, where we work with corporate businesses. My niche is very much in established businesses, usually in the medium-sized business space. I do a lot of work with family businesses, helping them transition the business from one generation to the next, but also in terms of businesses that are wanting to, for team members to take over the business from the owners, and obviously businesses that are wanting to scale. So we love working with businesses that are wanting to open multiple branches, that are often, we use the franchise model to even help businesses get ready to franchise and roll out in different territories. But getting the system right, what is the recipe right, making sure the recipe works, and then scaling it from there. So that's the kind of work that we do. But what I'll do now is I'll show you some of the systems that we run to help you look at your own business. So that's the idea of this session, is let's call it a 1-hour coaching session. What I'm going to do is teach you the model that we use to coach businesses. But while I'm talking, I'd like you to think about your own business. I'm going to be asking you questions and helping you identify in your business, what are the things that are working well and what are the areas that need attention. And off the back of that, hopefully you'll be taking notes, and hopefully you can come up with a to-do list of some of the things that you can impact in your business in the next 3 months. That's going to get some real results in the business. If this talk has identified any areas that you might need some help with, then obviously reach out. We do offer a free coaching session to business owners. And if you want to sit with me, and whether online or in person, and drill down on any of these areas, we do offer a free consult. But my objective for now is just to give you some time to say, right, we're going into a new year, and what do I want to do differently this year to last year? What are those little, and there's very often some little things that possibly haven't been done that you can implement in the business that's going to make quite a profound difference inside the business. So that's my objective, is to give you those ideas. And obviously the reason I ask you, can I be your coach, is coaching is very much a permission-based a process. Much as I'm passionate about coaching, and I truly believe that every business should have a coach, I have learned over the years that not everybody is coachable. You're going to be brave to be coached. You're going to be opening up your business to somebody else. You're going to have somebody looking over your shoulder at your numbers, at your plan, etc. And also, once you have a plan and goals in place, you're going to be held accountable to that. And a lot of human beings don't like accountability. And the lack of accountability is very often why businesses don't reach their real potential. So, you know, I want to work with people that are really driven, ambitious, have got clear goals in place, and are willing to be pushed to achieve those goals. So, but let's treat this as a session. I'll be asking all sorts of questions around your business and hopefully identifying some of those areas that you can improve. So we're going to cover 3 primary areas, because usually this is where people knock on our door. Is they say, help, I'm not profitable. So we need to look at marketing, sales, financial systems in place to free up more profits and revenue. Other businesses we work with are profitable. Revenue is fine, but the owner of the business is just working too hard, 7-day weeks and 12-hour days. So we need to look at some strategies to free up your time. And we have other businesses, profitability is fine, systems are fine, but they're not recruiting the right people, need some help with recruitment, or there might be the right people in place, but we need to do some work to get them gelling better, where the people aren't using the systems, aren't clicking well as a team. And that's the whole idea, is if you've got the right team in place and they've been empowered, they're going to drive and build that business for you. So we'll be looking at those 3 areas and seeing where is the area that you probably should be focusing on to improve your business. So we get into a business. Quick question. Are you driving your business, or is the business driving you? And I love this scenario. You can see these visuals that I've put up here. Each of these people are business owners. And what we see the reality in, let's call it entrepreneurship, in the small, medium-sized business space, is most people start their careers working for somebody else, have this amazing idea that I'm being, what's the cliche? I'm being overworked, underappreciated, and underpaid. So what am I going to do? I'm going to start my own business. What Michael Gerber calls the E-myth, entrepreneurial spasm, where we say, today's the day. We have this vision of having this amazing life if we had our own business. We would make the decisions, all the profit would be in my pocket, and I've got all the free time to spend time with my family, to travel, to play golf, to be on the beach, whatever the vision is. And that's the goal around it. And people start the business, right? And what we see in thousands of examples and thousands of industries around the world is we find that person that's now started their own business 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the track, sometimes 10, 20 years down the track, we find business owners that are working harder in their own business than they did working for a job, and very often taking out less money from their own business than they were in the job. And so the last thing I'm saying is shut down your business if you're in that space and go get a job again. Let's rather, because we need more businesses. We need more businesses opening up all the time, creating new jobs, creating new opportunities. What we're going to do is show a system on how you can get this right. How can we get the profits up, and how can we free up some more time and help you build this team? Because we want to get to that lifestyle that we see this family on the bottom right, and being able to have free time in a working week, in a working day, and get that business really supporting our goals, our personal goals, whatever that might be. So I'll teach you a framework that's going to do that. Because if we don't get that right, you know, we find people start with a job, start their own business, and 5-10 years into it, and find that actually don't own a business, actually own a job. And I love this acronym. This is the definition of a job. Just over broke, working harder than ever, taking out less money than ever, and going, why on earth did I start my own business? We want to break that cycle. We want more and more businesses to become successful, profitable, growing, and hiring more people. So first question I'd like to ask you, and put it in the chat box as well. What would your definition be of a successful business? You know, what would you say are the key words? What comes to mind if I say successful business? What should that look like? Well, there's a caveat. I'll give you our definition inside that. For us, a successful business is commercial, profitable, it works, and importantly, works without you. But typically, this is where a lot of people knock on our door. So listen, I've realized I own a job. I want to have a business that is scalable, sellable, what I call a legacy business. And this is that tick list. Commercial business means, has it got strong foundations in place? Is it serving a real need and making our customers happy? That's the first step. We've got to tick that box. Are we building this business on good foundations? Second of all, it's got to be profitable. We've got to be consistently profitable every month, and growing those profits, and whatever the profitability looks like for you, whatever you would qualify as a good profitable profit goal. If we're profitable and we're stable, a business that works means our customers are getting a consistent outcome. We've systematized the business. There are checklists, standard procedures, standard operating procedures that when a customer gives us money, they get a consistent service, a consistent product, and the outcome is consistent every time. So that's about looking at our processes and procedures in the business. And then the next step is, if we've got this right, we want to get a business working without you, meaning we need to have the right people that are going to run those systems for you. So think about that in your business and just see which of those areas can you tick. Are you happy that the foundations are in place? Are you happy with the level of profitability in your business? Are you happy that you've got standard systems and operating procedures that your team can follow for you? And works without you means, if you decide not to go to work today, can you do that? If you decide to take the week off, can you do that guilt-free, stress-free, knowing that the business is still going to be taking good care of its customers, profits are going to be sustainable, and that you then have a business that is now an asset rather than that job that you own? So I'm going to help you now drill down in each of those areas, because different people need help in different areas of your business. But what I'd like to show you is that there's actually a system, there's a framework, there's a hierarchy of needs inside your business, and you'll see how all of these are linked. And we need to be working on improving all of these areas in a set process. So I mentioned, the background of our business, ActionCOACH Business Coaching. We have a framework that we've developed. Brad founded it years ago, as I mentioned, in Australia, and it's been refined by the senior coaches over the years. But I've got to be honest with you, the core system has hardly changed very much. Obviously, there's nuance, industry changes, technology changes, marketing has changed a lot with the advent of online and social media marketing and things like that. But the fundamentals of running a business and the basics are still the basics and haven't changed for 100 years. And that's what we are going to be doing with you now, is sort of helping you checklist what are some of the areas that we should be working on, but importantly, the proper sequence. Because what I've found over the years is so many business owners are lying awake at night with all these amazing ideas in their heads, right? I need to fix this, I need to improve this, I need to put that system in place, I need to improve that strategy, open this branch. And there's a never-ending supply of ideas of what should be done inside the business. But the reality is we often implement the wrong ideas in the wrong sequence. And fixing this problem actually creates other problems that should have been fixed sooner. So this is why we mentioned the 6-step framework. I'm going to be going from the bottom up in this framework. And you'll see, like building a house, you start at the foundations, and eventually you put on the lovely roof, paint the walls, and landscape the gardens. It's exactly the same in building a business. We've got to get those foundations right. So we talk about mastery is our word for foundations. I'll drill down in each of these areas. And as I mentioned, for those of you that are just joining in a little bit later, we're running the session. Put any comments or ideas or questions in the chat box. You are more than welcome to unmute yourself at any point if you've got any questions or things that you want to add in. And if it's nothing urgent, just put a question in the chat. I just ask people that while the call is on, have your phones on, or have your connection on mute, and then just unmute yourself whenever you do want to add anything in. So I'll drill down on each of these, but to give you the quick overview. First step, mastery. Let's get your foundations right inside the business. So are we building on a stable base? And I'll take you through what that looks like. Secondly, marketing. We've got to be focusing on marketing. Have we got a clear niche and a clear marketing strategy that's going to help us grow profitability and cash flow? Once we've got that stable base, we've got a marketing machine generating consistent profits. We now want to work on our systems. Now is the right time to get in the systems and the processes and the procedures that are going to free up more time. When we've got our systems in place, our next step is to look at the team. So it's about getting the right team members in place to run those systems. So we do a lot of work around recruitment, but it's also about, are you getting more out of your existing team? And you'll see there the byproduct is happiness. A business that's profitable, a business that is structured, a business that has direction, you'll find the team members have just a different attitude. You walk into businesses with these things in place and you pick up the vibe early on. Whereas when these things aren't in place, you'll know companies like this where you walk through the door and just from the attitude and the greeting you get from the receptionist, you know there's something not right in that business. And we're going to help you identify what those areas are. Getting a business to the level of synergy is now where your business is working like a well-oiled machine. You're consistently profitable, you've got procedures in place, and you've got team members running the systems, which means you do not have to be there. You as the owner don't have to be there 24/7, which means you start freeing up some free time to do other things. A results level business is a business that doesn't need you at all. So at results level is when you should be looking at franchising the business, opening multiple offices. At results level, it's very easy to retire. It's very easy to sell a business that's a results level business. Those are on high demand with business brokers. There's people out there actively looking to buy businesses all the time. And we find very often, we get people often that knock on our doors, say, I need help selling a business. And we find because these things aren't in place, the business is not sellable, or it's sellable, but it's not sellable for a price that the owner would accept. So this process is also going to be taking you through that idea of getting your business more sellable, both that it's working without you and that it's sellable at a higher profit, because obviously the higher the profit, that's going to be the higher price that you can get for your business whenever you are ready to sell it. So let's drill down on each of these, and I'll give you some ideas on possibly where we should be improving on each. So the first area, the foundations, a commercial enterprise. And you see there we mentioned a bit tongue-in-cheek, but taking a business from chaos to control, because most businesses out there are in some level of chaos, sometimes like insane levels of chaos. Other times there's just a few little areas that just need to be fine-tuned. So in mastery, there's 4 key areas that you should be focusing on. Destination mastery. Very first step is, are you 100% clear on what you want this business to look like in 5, 10, 20 years time? Have you got an exit plan? Do you want to sell the business one day? Do you want to retire? Do you want to float the business on the stock exchange? Do you want to franchise it in multiple locations? What are your profit goals? What are your production goals? The products and service you want to offer? You want to get really clear on this. And this is one of the first things we do with any client that we coach, as we do what we call an alignment process. Interestingly, we actually start with, what are your personal goals? What is it that you want out of life? What's your net asset, desired net asset value? What salary do you want to be taking away? Where do you want to live? What cars do you want to be driving? You need to do some clarity on that first. What is it that you want? Then we look at the business goals, and we're going to make sure that they're in sync, right? Does the business goal, if the business hits its goal, will the business feed those goals of you? Because I mentioned it earlier, the business should be feeding you, not the other way around. So destination mastery, important one to work on. Money mastery, obviously. Businesses don't talk English, businesses talk numbers. So we've got to be on top of the numbers, whether you enjoy numbers or not. So it's about having a good accountant, a bookkeeping team to support you. And obviously in coaching, we want to know what those numbers are. We can't hide away from the numbers. Time mastery. Do we have good delegation skills, diary management skills? Are we freeing up time and spending our time in the right place? Because remember, that entrepreneurship and business ownership, I heard a great definition a while ago, that entrepreneurship is all about your ability to turn resources such as time and money into more money, and growing profits out of how you allocate time and money. And obviously delivery mastery is a 4th key area that we should be looking at. Is, do we have the capacity to grow? So we've done capacity analysis. And importantly, are your customers getting a consistent output? So it's looking at things like your branding. Does your marketing and your brochure, your website, your LinkedIn page, your business card, your Facebook page, are they all consistent messaging, or is it some of them working, some of them aren't? We want to get that marketing messaging right. But on top of that, making sure that our customers get a consistent output. So you can see it's a couple of areas to be focusing on in getting your foundations right. Again, destination mastery. You know, where are we clear on what is it that we want to achieve? Anybody that's read that great book by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he always talks about habit number 2, which is begin with the end in mind. Very hard to make decisions if we don't know where we're going and make sure that any business is in that space. So if anybody needs any help with that, you'll see on the right there, we do what we call an alignment coaching process. And we spend a month with you to really just drill down on the business, and help you. We facilitate the process to make sure you've got the personal clarity and make sure there are business goals and a business plan in place. That's the first step we do before we go any further. One of the questions we'll be asking you, and I'd like to ask you the question yourself now, is do you have a clear company vision? What is the company vision statement? I shared ours, World Abundance through Business Re-Education. Have you got clarity on what is your own personal vision, and what is the company vision? You might already have it documented and it's on your website and it's in your brochures and it's up on the wall, or it might be, fluff that somebody's just put in there. I've often sat with business owners where I ask, well, do you have a vision statement? And they'll say, yes, I do. I'll say, what is it? So, gosh, I don't know. And then we look on the website and because every website template, right, has got a page that says our vision. I'll say, well, there you go. There's a vision on your website. Who wrote that? And he says, oh, I don't know. I think the web designer just put it there. So now how could it be? We need to have a meaningful vision, or what is that legacy? What is that thing you want to create? I've used an example here, famous South African success story there. Love him or hate him, Elon Musk is building some amazing stuff. And if you haven't read his biography, it's brilliant. I mean, incredible to see how fast he has built multiple businesses. But anybody that's heard any of his talks, people ask, what is his vision? And his vision, Elon Musk, is to preserve the future of humanity, of humankind as a species. Two-pronged approach to that. One is, protecting the planet from greenhouse gases and overheating, global warming, areas like that. So that's why he's focusing on electric cars, solar power, all these technologies. But he knows that even if we solve global warming, who knows that there couldn't be some sort of extinction event that could wipe out the planet, being hit by a meteor, an asteroid, whatever it might be, that could wipe out the planet. So that's why his other goal is that we become a multi-planetary species. And he wants to set up a population on Mars, and from there, set up a breeding colony on Mars. From there, we could become an interplanetary species. Pretty big goal, right? That's his personal vision. And you get the idea when you talk about your vision, you notice how he just attracts so many people that want to be a part of that vision. When he's recruiting, he has no shortage of candidates that want to be a part of that. And obviously, there's other people that vision doesn't appeal to, which is absolutely fine as well. Those people will find a leader that is talking about a vision that resonates with them. So that's why it's so important for you as a business owner, as a business leader, to get clarity on what is your personal and company vision. And then not just document it. Yes, get it on the website and on your brochures, but you need to be shouting about it, talking about it all the time. So especially when you're recruiting, you want to find staff that are excited about your vision because they're going to help you achieve it. And people that aren't excited about that vision, it's perfectly fine that they go work somewhere else, because for their benefit as well. If everybody's chasing in the same direction, you're going to have a lot more fun doing it. You're going to achieve a lot more and move a lot faster. So it's the first key thing to go away and do if you haven't done yet, is get some clarity on that. And obviously shout if you need any help in that space. So that's just a part of destination mastery. So the vision is obviously the long-term stuff. The vision is your 100-year goal. You still need your 5-year goals, your 3-year goals, your 1-year goals, and obviously a plan to do it. Anybody that does scuba diving or knows divers, people, you'll hear them say this all the time: plan the dive the plan. If you don't do that, people are going to get hurt. But why is it when we come to business, we find people that have hobbies, they spend so much time planning their hobbies, the holiday, the camping trip, the football tour, the trip to go overseas to watch the rugby, whatever it might be. People spend so much time planning that activity, but spend 0 to little time actually planning in the business. And it's critical we get this right. So that's a few ideas around the destination mastery. Money mastery, this is an area a lot of businesses are neglecting. I've found over the years, 14 years talking to business owners, I find there's kind of a spectrum. I find there's entrepreneurs out there that are highly financially literate, know their numbers inside out, and know where every penny in the business is spent, and business owners that just don't want to look at the numbers ever. And their accountant has to force them once a year or maybe twice a year to sit down and look at the numbers come provisional tax payment time. Say, listen, we need to know what your numbers are. Please give us more details so we can just make provisional payments and calculations for tax. And obviously other people in between those two extremes. But we find that the cost of not knowing the numbers, there's a huge cost out there. We find people that are having, relationship damage, health damage. It's just the stress of not being on top of your numbers. There's always challenges inside the business, but when you're battling to pay the bills, battling to pay salaries, battling with debtors and creditors, that's probably one of the biggest stresses that people have. And very often it's the unknown that stresses people out. So it's one of the first things we want to do if we're not there yet is, are we on top of the numbers? Are we tracking everything that goes in and out of the business? Are you using proper controls, proper documentation, using proper bookkeeping software that can really get you on top of this? The tools we have nowadays with cloud-based computing systems or bookkeeping systems like Xero, and then other tools like Dext, where they're using artificial intelligence to help speed up the bookkeeping and helping you get access real-time data in your business. It's so easy now to have the vital statistics of your business at your fingertips. It's actually cheaper than ever to be on top of your numbers. It's cheaper and easier than ever to be on the numbers. So we don't have any excuses now of it's been too expensive to have a financial team and that the software is inaccessible. It is very easy to be on top of those numbers because this is what the business, how we're going to understand what's happening inside the business as we can track things. So we want our historical numbers, we want our future dated numbers, and we want to be looking at key performance indicators inside the business. So it's about a holistic look at the numbers, not just making sure that our VAT is paid on time every 2 months, not just making sure our PAYE is up to date, and not just making sure that our provisional and actual tax payments are made every year. We want to really start getting proper numbers inside the business and then making time to look at those numbers. Are you spending time regularly with your accountant to say, yes, we've met all of our compliance deadlines and our tax deadlines, but are we now looking at these numbers? Are we looking at the profit and loss account? Are we looking at KPIs and actually seeing what are these numbers telling us? What intelligence are we getting out of this? But too often we are finding business owners are so in the daily stress of running a business and not freeing up the time to look at the numbers. So typically 3 key areas you want to be looking at. Budgeting. Are we looking forward? I love the analogy of driving a car, right? When we're driving a car, we've got the windscreen. We look through the windscreen and that tells us what's ahead. What does the weather look like ahead? Are there any trees or potholes in the middle of the road? Can we see where the next petrol station is, what have you? We need that big windscreen that's telling us what this journey is looking like. And that's what your budget is. We need to have a forecast, a financial forecast for the business. At the same time, yes, we're looking forward through the windscreen. We also need to know where we've just been. So that's why we have a rear view mirror, right? A lot smaller than the windscreen, but we should still be looking at that rear view mirror, see what's behind us. Obviously, your rear view mirror in your business is your profit and loss account, whether for last month, last quarter, last year, your balance sheet, your profit and loss, you don't really look at your historical cash flow. The cash flow will be more your budgeting side or windscreen. So we're going to be looking backward and forward. But I find so many business owners out there that are only looking at the profit and loss account, which is like driving a car looking only in the rear view mirror. There could be a tree in the middle of the road. We're not going to see it because we haven't even got a windscreen, let alone looking through it. So that's why the budget and the reporting are equally important. And then obviously a dashboard. That's why I love also the driving analogy is while you're driving a car nowadays, you can have the music on, you're chatting to people in the car with you. You might even be on your hands-free having a phone call. You looking through the windscreen, you look at the mirror, but you've just got the dashboard in front of you. You can see the car's vital statistics. How fast am I going? How much petrol is in the tank? Are there any warning lights going off, or is everything in the green indicator? And that that while you're driving a car, as soon as you start seeing an orange light or a red light, you need to pull over and take remedial action before you speed up again. And it's the same thing with the business. We need to be properly in control of the business. We should have all 3 of these tools that we are looking at a regular basis to be properly in control of this business. Because the question I always like to ask people is, if you're not looking at this stuff in your business, who is? Is your accountant, is your bookkeeper, do you have a general manager, do you have a finance manager, do you have an outsourced finance director or an in-house finance director? Because if you're not looking at this stuff, somebody has to be. Do you have a coach that is pushing you to record the stuff and helping you understand the stuff? We've got to be on top of the numbers. Importantly, have you recently recalculated your break-even target? And this is an exercise people should be doing very regularly. I'm just, as you can see, what I'm doing here is I'm just wanting to share some of the key things that often get some really quick wins inside businesses. Very often people do a break-even calculation once and then don't do it again for 2 or 3 years. And what was a break-even target? We saw this a lot for COVID. You know, businesses that went into COVID with a certain break-even target came out of COVID, and the target had changed, and very often very different to what people expected. What we're also finding is people aren't calculating the correct break-even target. You know, I'll ask a business owner, what revenue do you need to do to cover your costs every month? And very often the answer people give me is their expenses per month. You know, it's like, oh, it cost me 500,000 Rand a month to cover my salaries and rent and all that kind of stuff. So I can just invoice 500,000 Rand a month. And people are forgetting cost of sales, forgetting to factor in their gross margin percentage into that equation. And very often people are chasing the wrong number drastically because they're not clear on how to calculate break even. Even the more sophisticated businesses, though, what I'm finding is very often they've calculated break even wrong. So those of you that aren't sure, is you take your fixed expenses per month and divide by your gross margin percentage times by 100. That'll give you the revenue, the sales that you need to cover not just your fixed expenses, but your variable expenses as well, or your cost of sales. But what often we're finding is people haven't set up their bookkeeping properly. There are fixed costs that are being loaded as variable costs and variable costs that are being loaded as fixed costs, for instance, and we're getting the wrong gross margin percentage. They're not using they're not calculating their true gross margin. So when they do that calculation, they're getting very much the wrong number. And sadly, it's usually wrong in the wrong direction. The margin is showing as higher than it actually is because there are variable costs that are being loaded as fixed costs. And then when you take your revenue, your fixed cost divided out by the margin, we're getting a much lower target. So we get people that every month they're hitting their target and they're saying, oh, this is wonderful, but for some reason we're running out of cash. And you know, we get the figures every 6 months or whatever it is, and we see we're making a loss. And so that doesn't make sense because we have been hitting our target, and that's because the margin has been calculated incorrectly. So give us a shout if you need some help on how to calculate your break-even target. That's a key one, to reassess that regularly and make sure we are chasing the right numbers. Oh, and importantly, yeah, we don't want to be chasing a break-even target. We actually want to be then adding on a profit factor on top of that. So we're chasing what we call a profit break-even target, so that even if you don't hit your target, you still are ahead of break-even. So at least we're not making a loss. And we need to reconfigure the business as much as possible to keep the break-even target as low as possible. And also, as you can see in this visual I've put up here, is you want to hit it as early as possible in the month. You find stress will drop quite quickly. So obviously time management is a key one as well, time mastery. Have you done any training on this, time management training, and have you done any of that with your team? You know, are we very clear on what are the right things to do? So Stephen Covey teaches a matrix around this, what we call the time target. Imagine a typical day. If you tracked all the things that you get up to in the day, how often do people spend time doing things that are neither urgent nor important? We call it the zone of distraction. During working hours, people are messing around on Facebook or social media. People are gossiping at the coffee machine. People are, you know, not urgent, not important. You know, you got an important deadline to do, but you suddenly fall into the trap of cleaning out your inbox from 2022. You know what I mean? Like just burning time, but achieving stuff that is neither urgent nor important. So we've got to watch out for that stuff. People trick themselves into, like we have comfort foods, people have comfort activities. Importantly as well, we often do things that are urgent but not important. And everything is urgent nowadays. You know, every ringing telephone, knock on the door, a ping that there's an inbound email, a ping that there's an SMS, a WhatsApp, a knock on the door, all these things that sound urgent. And if we let them into our day, very often they're not important. They're things that we shouldn't. So we delude ourselves that we are there's a message that comes in when we're busy doing something important, a WhatsApp message pings, and it's the neighborhood watch group setting up a braai for the weekend. Now, we could answer those messages in the evening, during lunch break, whatever. You're teaching this stuff to your team. It's taking you away from the important stuff. Then obviously we've got urgent and important. Now, when things that are important, we will always find time for them when they're urgent, right? Results drop. We have a terrible month and the phone's not ringing. We're going to suddenly start doing marketing strategies and getting on the phone and phoning customers and trying to close deals at a rate of knots, right? Because it's important when we do marketing and sales. We were neglecting it because it wasn't urgent. We were having a few good months. When an important customer arrives for a surprise visit, we can't say to the customer, sorry, I'm busy doing my cash flow forecast. We've got to drop what we're doing and give that customer a tour of the factory or whatever it is. If a key member of staff doesn't turn up, you as the business owner very often have to drop what you're doing and step in for that staff member. So we've got to understand this kind of stuff is always going to happen. We've got the best laid plans on what we're going to do today, and other stuff happens. So we've got to get into this habit of saying all the important stuff, we need to do it before it becomes urgent. So even when we're having a really busy month, are we doing marketing and sales activity that's going to bring in new deals, that's going to keep us busy for the coming months? Are we training other staff members to do other people's roles before, so that when we have missing staff that don't come to work, other people can step into that role? Are we getting out every now and then on the road and visiting our key customers before there's any urgent need, so they don't feel the need to come and do surprise visits on us, that it becomes that we are taking charge of our diaries? There's systems in place like this, and one of the key things we need to do is start carving time aside to work on the business. And those are the things I've described to you: training our team, putting new strategies in place, visiting key people, networking, building the skills, learning, strategic planning, making time to do that stuff. That is what's going to make a fundamental change inside the business. That we're getting busier and busier as human beings, so it's getting harder and harder and more important to carve this time aside. And that's what we do as coaches. By engaging a coach, you are committing to put that time aside, and there's people helping you use that time wisely. Because can you imagine freeing up some time? I mentioned having goals. If we focus on time management, if we put some goals around that, if you freed up some time, what would you do with it? For some people, it's more family time and quality time with friends. It could be travel goals. We're working really hard in a business. Let's make sure that we're getting not just the profits out, but that we're freeing up some time. And the last key area, bear in mind, we're still on foundations here. We're still on the mastery level. I mentioned earlier, delivery mastery. Are your customers getting a consistent experience? And I love this example. I've been sharing this story for years, but I think it's just so profound. As Michael Gerber speaks about this example in his book. But the idea behind it, the story goes that he has his regular hairdresser or barbershop, and I think we can all resonate with this. Every month he goes for a haircut. He walks in the door of this barbershop, and as he walks in the door, the lady behind the counter looks up, and there's a little funny greeting that she always says to him, which puts a smile on his face. He sits down for a haircut, they make him a cup of coffee, and it's a bottomless cup of coffee. They fill it up as often as he wants. And that's his regular barbershop for years. One day, he walks in, and there's a different lady in the front desk. And you can see the regular lady, she's in the back office, maybe doing a stock take or something like that. And the lady that's covering for her at the desk just looks up and goes, hello. Doesn't tell him the funny story, doesn't make the little joke or the funny catch line, whatever it is that always puts a smile on his face. So immediately, and you feel what's happened there. He doesn't have you get the endorphins of those little experiences that subconsciously we expect. He sits down for the haircut. Nobody offers him a cup of coffee. But he gets exactly the same haircut he always gets. And we know what happens, right? We know where the story goes. He pays for his money, absolutely fine, same haircut. But suddenly, without even realizing it, they'd found exactly the way he likes something, and then they took it away. Next month, he's ready for his haircut. He walks out the office. Instead of turning left to his regular barbershop, he turns right, and he tries the other barbershop on the other side of the street. And they've lost a customer just there from not having as simple as like a script or a checklist to remember to offer people coffee and things like that. And there's a million examples like this, but there's this one that always resonates. Simple little things like that. When we find the right way of doing it, we need to do it again and again and again. You know, McDonald's are such a great example of this. You know, we know they don't make the best hamburger in the world, right? But why have they achieved what they have? You know that anywhere in the world, when you see those golden arches, you're going to find a clean, quick service restaurant. The food's going to be predictable, affordable, and there's going to be clean toilets. You know, so whatever it is that you like about McDonald's, there'll be a play area for the kids, whatever it might be. So find out what it is. What is your secret recipe? Document it, systematize it, and make sure it can happen again and again and again. Otherwise, as fast as we're winning clients, we're losing them because we're not getting that consistency in place. So I've spent 5 or 10 minutes just on the foundations of a business, right? There's a lot more to cover. So I'm just going to hammer through the other the other areas. And obviously, if anybody wants to know more about it, we've got other videos and things on it. But we wanted to kind of just do a quick session and see what 15 minutes around this to go, or 20. We'll carry on another 20 minutes or so. I know some of you have to go and some of you will be hanging around, but marketing is the next step to get into. We call it niche. You know, we'll make sure you're profitable now. So you've got the foundations in place. Do you have a proper marketing system in place? So the first thing, our definition of niche, is that you've got no price competition. If I had to ask you, why are you better than your competitors? Could you tell me instantly? Is there a document, a website, a web page, an infographic, something that you could send to me? And is it that compelling that you could say, yes, we're even more expensive than our competitors, but there's a reason why, because when you engage us, these things are going to happen that don't typically happen with our customers. We need to do some work around that and design what is your unique selling proposition. We've got to get that message out into all of your marketing messaging. If you haven't done that yet, that's such an important foundation area before we get into the rest of the marketing. I did mention earlier, we do offer a free coaching session, or what we call a business assessment consultation. I just go to that web page. Slindila, if you don't mind, just put that in the chat box. Slindila will put a link for you there. As I mentioned, we do offer a free consult. We'll help you drill down on this stuff. Maybe you need some help around your unique selling proposition, and we need to help you either test your existing one or help you identify what could be that marketing message that's going to take your business to a new level. So reach out to us at any stage. But importantly, I want to share with you this concept that we call marketing leverage, or the business chassis. Now, those of you that are car buffs or petrol heads, you'll know that a lot of cars out there look very different. Different badge, different bodywork, that kind of stuff. But you take away the badge, take away the bodywork, the seats, the engine, and you strip that car right down to the chassis, you'll realize it's a lot of cars that actually have the same chassis. And Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche are great examples of this. Very different price tag, very different brand reputation, but they actually share a chassis. Nissan and Renault are famous examples. The new Mercedes Bucky is apparently on a Nissan Navara chassis. So very different, same chassis, very different car. So if you can get good at learning how to leverage the chassis, you can build something quite incredible in your business. So here's an example I found years ago. This lady in the United Kingdom, she bought the scrap Volkswagen Beetle for £200, stripped it down to the chassis, rebuilt it into a Porsche, replica Porsche. I think it's a Roadster, sold it for £25,000. That's a pretty good return on investment. And what I want to show you here is how you can do that same thinking with your business and say, let's strip the business down to the chassis. Let's see, what does the chassis look like? And then rebuild the business up to a much higher value. And it's all about testing and measuring. So I spoke about money mastery. We've got to be budgets, budgets, financial statements, and dashboards. We've got to be on those key numbers of the business. Testing and measuring, this is some areas that you should be having on your dashboards. We call it the 5 ways key performance indicators that you should be measuring in every single business. So all of you, you know, if I asked you how many customers you served last month, if I asked you what is your revenue or your turnover for last month or last quarter or last year, and what was your profit for that period, you could probably tell me. And if you didn't know off the top of your head, you could go into your bookkeeping software, you could contact your accountant or your bookkeeper, and you'll be able to tell me those metrics. But customers' revenue profits are results, they're outcomes. If I asked you, why did you have those numbers? What was the inputs that caused those outputs? Very few businesses can answer that question. So I'll show you now how you can track that. So you can see here, customers' revenue profit on red, they come after the equal sign. We should already be tracking that already. These 5 areas, the 5 ways, is what most businesses are not tracking. So here's a fictitious example of imaginary business, just as a case study, to illustrate how this works. So here's a business that last month had 4,000 leads. In other words, 4,000 human beings asked them for a quote, or phoned in, or if it's a restaurant, said, do you have a table available for us? Whatever it might be. 4,000 human beings expressed an interest in buying. They know that they had 1,000 customers that actually bought. So you can take 1,000 divided by 4,000 times by 100. Now we know their conversion rate was 25%. So you see how important these are as metrics inside the business, because the first one's going to tell us how good you are at marketing, at lead generation. The second metric is going to tell us how good you're at sales. And all of us are good in one of these and bad in the other, because we want to now start seeing where we should be focusing on improving that business. So we can start getting a bit more scientific in our marketing strategy. So here's a business now. We know they had 1,000 customers. We want to know what we call the average number of transactions. So some businesses bought from us once, some businesses bought from us 3 times. The average for last month was 2. What was the average spend? This business, some invoices were $50, some were $200. So the average spend or average invoice value for last month was $100. If we multiply that out, now we know why their revenue was $200,000 dollars. Let's go. I hope you don't mind me using dollars. I prefer dollars to rands. And how much of that did we get to keep? So 75% of that went to cover our costs, and this business was left with 25% or $50,000. Now, obviously, you could go a level further. You could do gross margins, gross profits, and then net margin, net profit. But and we do that when we track this with our clients. But just to illustrate the point, we just use margins overall. So first step is you want to start tracking these numbers. There's a simple spreadsheet we use with our clients, and we've actually automated it now on an online dashboard. But what we'll be doing with you is we've identified all these different strategies in each of these areas that can start helping improve those numbers. 73 strategies to get more leads, 84 strategies to improve your conversion rate, etc. So what we want to do with businesses is make sure, what are your current numbers? What are your target numbers in each of those areas? And then what are the strategies you're going to implement to start making those things happen? So imagine here, and look at this business, imagine they can just improve each of those 5 metrics by 10%. 10% more leads. Yeah, so hiring a telemarketing person, getting more active on LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Google advertising, getting out to more networking events, whatever it might be. 10% more leads is very doable in just about any business. But at the same time, we're not just getting more leads, we're also working on improving our conversion rate. So a question I'd like to ask everyone on the call here, have you done a sales training course yourself? Have you read any books on sales? Have you put your sales team through sales training in the last couple of years? Do you have regular, once a week or once every 2 weeks or once a month, a slot in the default diary of the company calendar where the sales team together are learning new sales skills? So training is just one of many strategies that you can use to improve your conversion rate. Are you offering a guarantee? Are you using scripts inside your business? We're finding generally updating websites and better quality brand identity. Just that strategy alone usually improves conversion rates. Okay. So now we multiply that out. You'll see 10% in each of those areas gets you 21% more customers. That amazing power of compounding interest, or the multiplication factor, right? The multiplication effect. So now we've got an additional 21% more customers. Can we put some strategies in place to get them coming back more often, to improve our average number of transactions? Are you keeping and maintaining a solid database of your active clients and your dormant clients? Are you reaching out to that database regularly? Are you doing a monthly or a quarterly newsletter? Are you sending out special offers to your customers? Have you connected with your customers on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever is appropriate? Are you doing events? Are you sending birthday cards or birthday gifts to your clients, depending on what's appropriate? What are those things you can do to get customers coming back more often? And the key on that is having a good database. At the same time, what are you doing to get your customers to spend a little bit more every time? Have you done some training on cross-selling and upselling? Have you put systems in place? Have you got a script in place to always offer an upsell to your clients, like McDonald's do, right? You buy a hamburger, can I upsize you? Can I supersize you? Do you want fries with that? Have you identified the supersize question inside your business, right? So if you look what happens now, 10% in those two areas, we multiply that up and your revenue has gone up by 46%. Powerful, right? Little 10% improvements in 4 areas, 46% jump in revenue. But obviously revenue doesn't guarantee that that goes to you, right? It's profit that goes to the owners, not revenue. So are we putting in strategies to improve margins? Are you doing a regular price increase? Are you watching controls? Are you getting better negotiation skills and negotiating better deals with your suppliers? Do you have incentives in place? Do your staff, are your team members using budgets and have to report in on budgets regularly to make sure they're keeping within their expense budget? All right. So if we also get a 10% improvement in margins, we've just made an extra $30,000 this month. By 10%, by focused effort and looking at little strategies to improve all these areas. So whatever your current numbers are, now all of you on the call, you will all have a very different, your chassis will all look very different due to the nuance of your business. So you want to firstly start working out your chassis, but I can guarantee you 10% in each of those areas, your profits, your revenue will go up by 46% and profits up by 61%. Why do we share this, right? That's how we coach people to profitability. It's also why we coach on it as well with our clients, because we want to see our clients grow profits. You know, if somebody's investing money in a coaching program, we want to make sure there's a return on investment. And so we've also got a guilty reason for watching your profits grow, because we know that if you're making profits, more profits, you're going to be clients of ours a long time. You know, we love seeing these amazing success stories of businesses that have grown profits substantially, but we've got to be tracking the numbers. We've got to be consciously having a plan in place to improve the numbers. And then who have you got to hold you accountable to make sure you're implementing the strategies, not just coming up with the ideas, because ideas are easy. It's implementation. That's where the magic happens. So again, we've got to have goals around it. If you grew your profits by 61%, what are you going to do with that? Is it toys that you want to buy? Is it experiences or travel goals that you want to have? You know, we want to have share it with the team, the goals that we're tracking these things together, and collectively as a team we can win on this stuff. So here's some of the strategies around lead generation. Here's some of the strategies that have been very effective on improving conversion rates. Some of the ideas, and obviously when we sit down together and we share behind each of these strategies is books and videos and tools on how to implement these strategies, and we'll coach you through the implementation of these strategies. But we've just highlighted here some of the ones that get good results quite quickly, some of the low-hanging fruit. So as you can see, and this isn't a definitive list, there'll be plenty other strategies that aren't even on these lists, but there are plenty of things that we can do to improve that. So what I showed you there was what would happen if you just improved each number by 10%. Imagine you could grow each of those 5 metrics by 100% or double those 5 areas. Take a look, check this out. $50,000 profit business becomes a $1.6 million profit business. Now, I'm saying that just for fun. You know, it's very seldom you hear those sort of success stories, because the previous example I gave you, 10% in each of those areas, you can do that with your existing. I'll pretty much bet money that you could do that with your existing resource. To do this kind of thing that I got up on the screen, you know, generally you're going to need more team, more branches, more vehicles, more warehouses, whatever it might be. And guaranteed what we find in most businesses, you can't double every area. You know, we find some businesses that margins, there's price control, for instance, in some industries. There's not a lot you can do on margins. I've coached guys in the steel trade. They work on margins of like 3 to 4% gross margin. You know, so doubling profit margin is highly unlikely in a business like that. But there'll be areas you can do great things and areas you can't. The idea is we want to work on all of those areas over time. We want to get away from this thinking, and I find in a lot of entrepreneurs that people think there's one silver bullet that's going to change their business. If I just hire that one salesperson, if I just win that one tender, if I just launch that new product, if we could just get one more vehicle in our fleet, everything's going to change. It's like, yeah, one strategy, one thing will change, but it's not going to get your business consistently profitable. It's not going to get your business working without you. We want to be looking at regular improvements over time. And that's our job as coaches. When my clients will tell you that when I see them every week or every second week or every month, the first question I ask, or second or third question, is what have you done to improve your business since I saw you last? What strategies have you been implementing? And if we've got the numbers, and if you're giving me, sharing your numbers with me, we'll actually even be able to see if those numbers or if those strategies are working or not. So as you can see, there's a lot more. There's a lot more in each of these areas. I'm just giving you a top level of some of the key areas you should be looking at inside the business. So for those of you that are happy that your foundations are solid, that your mastery score is good, you're happy that your marketing machine is delivering consistent leads and consistent profits inside the business, you should then be looking at systems, because now we want to start freeing up more time. And that's what systems are all about. Now we find a lot of entrepreneurs, even I found business owners that were in big corporates that were highly systematized, now open small, medium-sized businesses and don't put any systems in at all. Because we find generally the business owner does not need systems, because it's usually your business, you've been doing it for 10, 20, 30 years, is muscle memory, you've got that 10,000 hours of skill in that industry. But then we find a business owner that's been doing something for 10,000 hours, can't understand why a staff member who's only got 100 hours experience can't do it as well as the business owner does, because we haven't put the systems in place, the training systems, the checklists, the policies and procedures. So this is an area, and just a quick overview of it, and this is the process we would coach you through. If you're a business at that level and you're now wanting to scale your business, you can see this is an important one if you're wanting to open more branches, if you're wanting to franchise the business. Here's the kind of framework that we like to build this around. Vision, mission, values. Have they been documented? And they're in a reference place somewhere that everybody can access it. Have you identified SMART goals, 10-year goals, 5-year goals, 3-year goals, 1-year goals, quarterly goals? Have you got clear goals you're tracking against? Have you got a always regularly updated organization chart? Who reports to who, who's responsible for what? And is that being updated every time there's a change, every time somebody leaves, every time there's a new role added on or a role that's no longer needed? Are you regularly updating the organization chart? I find most business owners I work with, I say, can I have your latest organization chart? They say, oh yeah, we did ISO certification about 3 years ago. Where is that org chart? And half the people on the organization chart aren't even in there anymore. It needs to be a real thing that's published, that's up on the wall, that the staff can refer to it all the time, that they know who reports to who. Next step is everybody on their organization chart, have they got a clear position, contract, or job description that they can measure themselves against, and that you can performance manage them against as well? So there's no misunderstanding on who's responsible for what. And importantly, are there clear key performance indicators that each person is tracking against? If you have salespeople, how many phone calls do you want them making per week? How many meetings? What's their sales target? What's their profit margin target? Your bookkeeper, what are the debtors days targets that he or she should be working towards? Has everybody got 3 or 4 key KPIs that they know for themselves if they're doing a good job or not? And then you as well, you'll know who in your team is hitting their KPIs and who isn't. A big job here is the how-to systems, our way of doing things. So it could be checklists, it could be training videos, there's lovely apps that put this together. Saying, I don't care how you did in your previous company, when you have our logo on your shirt or your name tag, our business card, when you're under our roof, this is our way of doing it. So we need to document that stuff. And then obviously we use the word management systems, or I sometimes call it the loop, is what holds all of this together. Where's one place that anybody could go to get this and get the latest version? So if a team member needs the latest organization chart, if there's a team member that's lost their job description, I'm not sure what the vision statement is, so it could be on a big lever arch file that's got all of this. It could be on accessible via everybody's phone, on OneDrive or Google Docs or whatever it might be. But we want to have the stuff that there's always the latest version, is always in one place, and that we can all refer to. That is a good, as you can see, that's a great skeleton now for a business. If you're looking at opening other branches and you're wanting to franchise this business, if you've got this stuff right, it's going to be so much easier to open in more places and become successful in your new territories a lot quicker. Because then you imagine if this isn't documented, what we find, there's a lot of franchises out there that haven't got the core franchise operation right. They haven't documented all the stuff, and any cracks in the system, now we open more branches and those cracks replicate themselves in every new territory that we roll out. So it's critical that we get this right. And then once we've got this, the systems in place, we can now get it working without you. In other words, now you can get team members to run those systems. Have a look at the statement. Most employees are motivated, energetic, committed, enthusiastic, and loyal. And a lot of people, when I put this up, say, oh my gosh, Trevor, you haven't met my employees. So let's finish the quotation. They're motivated, energetic, committed, enthusiastic, and loyal, but not for the 8 hours that they're working for you. There's great people out there, but very often we're not creating the environment that brings out the best in people. And very often we're recruiting the wrong people. People that would resonate with a different business, we're bringing them in our business. As it's about, A, are we very good at recruitment? And B, are we really good at making sure we get the most out of people and creating an environment that brings out the best? And obviously also the people that aren't performing, the people that are toxic, are we also getting those out of the business to create that great environment? So here's a little litmus test you can use in your business. We call it the keys to a winning team. Strong leadership, common goal. Have you documented the rules of the game? Is there an action plan that you're referring to regularly? Support risk-taking. So within the action plan, within the rules of the game, are people allowed to play to their own style and personality? And is everybody 100% involved and included? Do you have toxic individuals that are pulling the team down? Do you have people that are coming to work late all the time? People that aren't getting involved? Are people that when there's a project they don't pull their weight and support one another? You know, we need, and from the top down, you know, I find very often it's the owner of the business that's not 100% committed and 100% involved. Yes, it's about working on each of these areas over time to create a winning team. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it now. I just want to touch on it. We're going to be setting up a workshop on this later in the year around recruitment, because this is, again, another area that stops a lot of business owners scaling the businesses. People aren't confident in recruitment. Other people have recruited badly, hurt their fingers, and then go, oh my gosh, you know, I'm too scared to have to open another branch again because am I going to get the wrong people again? Or so it hits their confidence, or just means the speed of growth gets held back because we're not finding the right people. So we teach a recruitment process called the 4-hour recruitment system. We will be running a separate session on it because it's a whole process in its own right. But we found a lot of our clients, as soon as they learn the system, they scale so much easier because they find the right people to help them grow the business. If you do want to know more about it, if you are urgently recruiting in the short term and need some help, just reach out to Slindila and let's have a chat. I'll see if I can help you in that space. And then the last two areas, you know, results and synergy, they're very different areas. Even though they're different areas, I've grouped them together because it is literally that point where the business is working without you, either to a small degree or to a large degree. So it's about what is next. But usually that is the level where you've got the business profitable, you've got the systems in place, you've got a good team. Now it's about hiring a general manager just to run it for you. So for some people, it's about hiring a heavyweight general manager, ops manager, whatever it might be, CEO. Some smaller businesses, you're promoting somebody, or bigger as well, but promoting somebody from within to run the systems for you. Because now you've built the systems, that's generally what the general manager needs to do, is run the systems for you. So you can now do other things. But Sir Richard Branson, I think he puts this so well, is, you know, once you learn to run a business, it becomes easier and easier. You can do it again and again and again. And we always like to remind people that your first business, or the business that you're in right now, this is your university. And you can see from the framework that I showed you, is what we do in coaching is we speed up that learning process. And using your existing business as a case study, when you move on to business number 2, business number 3, business number 4, if those are your goals, you're going to build those a lot quicker because you've now learned how. But the main thing is we've got to be working on ourselves first. We've got to be learning these new skills. We've got to be implementing these. And I think this quotation from Jim Rohn puts it so well. You know, you can't wish life was easier. You have to wish that you are better. How do you do that? Self-development, learning new skills, pushing yourself. So I hope I've given you some, so I'm just going to go to the next slide here. So I hope I've given you some good ideas here that you can take away. I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a second. So those of you that have to dash, I know some people have to go, and others, if you want to hang around and chat about any of these ideas. But just quickly in wrapping, so I hope I've given you some ideas that you can take away and implement inside the business. A few of you on the call are actually already clients of mine. And I wanted you to be on this call just that you could just kind of see the framework that I'm coaching you against, just to see that overall framework. Because sometimes we have clients that get into coaching that, where's this all going? And that's why we use that 6-step framework. But for those of you that don't yet have a coach, or maybe you've been interested in coaching but haven't yet found the right coach, I do recommend get out and sit down with somebody. As I say, we offered a free coaching session. So if you think I might be somebody to help you take your business to a new level, book a free consult. Let's kick the tires, and let's see if the fit is good and that it's going to be fun to work together and get you up and running. If I'm not the right coach for you, find somebody else who's going to be, because the reason I've got those pictures up here is all of these, you pick any top sports team, you pick any top athlete in the world, would they have achieved what they've achieved without a coach? I can guarantee you'll say no, right? And the question is, do you win the World Cup and then get a coach, or do you get a coach and then you win a World Cup? And so make sure you've got somebody pushing you, giving you a second opinion, giving you a place that you can talk about. But this is Brad, who set up the business 30 years ago. I love this quotation: please don't do nothing. So you've spent some time with me in this call this morning. Hang around and chat a little bit, but please, if there's a couple of ideas that jumped out here that you've identified some ideas, either sit with me or one of my colleagues, or just go away and implement that stuff. But doing nothing with the knowledge, that's a tragedy where nothing is going to happen there. So this quote, I think, sums it up quite nicely. We think we're great, but doing it on your own, you're just making it so much harder.